And we are back, and joining us now is our friend, Susan Ferrechio, the chief congressional correspondent for the Washington Examiner. Susan, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure. You know, I'm looking here as I talk because I need to find, oh yeah, okay, 47, guys, get 47 ready. You were on the McLaughlin Group over the weekend. And it was very interesting that Eleanor Clift had something very interesting to say, and we had her on. I guess we had her on 2 days ago, and I asked her about it, and she doubled down. Do we have it? We don't have it. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, she said that she didn't think Ambassador was murdered. And she said that she thought he died of smoke inhalation. And here's what I asked her. Here's what I said to her 2 days ago. Long story short, could you kill that? Could you kill that? Thank you. She doubled down and said it again that Ambassador Stevens was not killed. Was not murdered, rather. He died of smoke inhalation. You looked incredulous when she said it. The whole panel did. What'd you think when she said that?
Well, my first thought was that's just crazy. Even for Eleanor, she and I always disagree, and on and off the camera, we're always disagreeing on some of these big issues. But I understand what she meant now was, because let's face it, there are still people in the administration, there are still people who like to argue that there's not 100% proof that this was a terrorist attack, that there's still some possibility this was brought on by a protest. There were protests in other parts of the world. You know, the whole protest argument that, oh, this wasn't really necessarily terrorism. She is clearly following that line of thinking. So let's continue with her line of thinking if we're going to step into Eleanor's mind for a minute. If, in fact, she believes it's not terrorism, that it's a protest, then she could then further the argument by saying, well, it started a fire and Ambassador Stevens died of smoke inhalation, therefore he was not murdered. It would be sort of this kind of accidental death. Now,
yeah, but I would say, go ahead. I mean, I would say that there's all kinds of murder, negligent homicide, this kind of homicide. Certainly if you're protesting and you're throwing explosives or you set a fire and someone dies, that person died. That person was murdered somehow.
Right. So what did she say when you asked her?
Do we have it? Can we play it? Do we have it? Yeah. Okay. Here it comes. Here we go.
So many people around the world
are
using Twitter.
That's not it. That's not it. She doubled down. She wouldn't change it. And I said, well, what do you say about the people at the World Trade Center? You know, who disintegrated, who jumped, whatever. And she said to them about them, they were murdered. I said, what if this was your relative, God forbid, in Benghazi? Would you say that your relative was murdered or died of smoke inhalation? She said smoke inhalation. I said, you sure you don't want to change this? She said, nope. So I don't get it. I don't get the logic at all.
Mm-hmm. I actually don't get it either. And I'm glad you brought up the World Trade Center thing, because that's exactly, you know, I didn't get as much time to rebut that argument, and because everybody was talking at once, but I would have said the same.
Oh no, I know, yeah, absolutely.
Smoke inhalation is not an accident when somebody causes it purposely. And besides that, Steve, I know there's evidence that he didn't just die of smoke inhalation, that he may have been hurt by these terrorists.
Well, we're talking about a horrific, you know, I recall one of the stations, I think it might have been CNN, whoever was there first on the scene. Remember, they found all kinds of diaries and stuff before any investigators ever found them. And they showed pictures from his quarters that had a bathroom area, and there was blood all over the place, and there was all kinds of
bloody handprint on the wall.
Yes.
Get graphic, you know, this guy.
Yes.
This guy's an ambassador. But you have to say that when you get people talking this way. You know, this I believe was outright murder of 4 Americans, and I was frankly flabbergasted by what she had to say. I know the show was getting a lot of negative feedback on what she said, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle it. I'm not on the show this week, so I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, but I hope that they bring it up again. I don't know that they will, but I think it gets to the heart of the whole issue on Benghazi, and part of the frustration you see with the Republicans that the administration has not taken the investigation seriously. And I'll just paraphrase Senator Kelly Ayotte, who said, the big issue right here is that nobody's been held accountable for this. Who's in jail over this? Nobody. And what has the United States done to track these people down and find out who did it and hold them accountable? And that is the big question here. And then, of course, you have the Democratic line here that we still don't know what the cause was. That's what they're saying. Although sometimes they say it's terrorism, depending on, whether it's convenient or not.
Right.
And then I think that's part of what Eleanor Clift was paraphrasing or parroting, the administration on this. And then taking it a step too far, I think, by calling it she didn't say on the show she thought it was an accidental. She said it was smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
And the implication was that, oops, he died in a fire. Just whoa. I think the audience went berserk, and I know they're getting all kinds of responses from viewers.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't doubt it. All right, let's switch gears here. Let's talk about something John Boehner said, and we spoke earlier in the show to Ed Rollins, who said he was very, very surprised that a sitting Speaker of the House this far out would admit or suggest that he's been nudging Jeb Bush to run for the presidency when there are, as he put it, so many other viable candidates out there and was so early on in the process.
Right. Now, he said this on The Tonight Show as well. Remember, he talked about, I like Jeb Bush.
Yeah.
No, because people have been pushing Jeb Bush under the radar, and now more in the radar for months now. They like him. He's mainstream. He can appeal to their Hispanic base that they're clamoring to attract. He's a Bush. He's not a Rand Paul. He's not Ted Cruz. He's married. His wife's Hispanic. His children are Hispanic. He's a successful Florida governor. Florida. So I need to say more. He's got so many attractive things about him. What's great about him also to these Republicans, not besides the money he could potentially raise, is who he's not. And so they have all kinds of things in their sights, wrapping this up early, getting the money and the power behind this candidate early, and just being able to find a path to the White House. They think Jeb's their guy. Not surprising that Boehner's in that camp. Not surprising to me anyway. So when he said that, he said I'd been nudging him. I wasn't shocked at all to hear him say that. I knew it was news though, and so I
you wrote a great piece about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew, that he said nudging. That's interesting. That's more than just I like Jeb Bush. So there you have it. I think there is a lot of argument to be made, and I've heard Lauren Grove say this on her talk show too, and I believe it, that this is something that many in the party have been hoping for, that he'll run. It's still very early. Anything can happen, obviously. Who knows? We don't know what Hillary Clinton's going to do. But I think that they would like to wrap this up without having the 2012 primary with lots of ups and downs for lots of different candidates, thus weakening their lead person and lessening the time they can raise money, which was part of Mitt Romney's downfall. So there are
Susan, though, how does Jeb Bush win primaries? I mean, we had
the same way Mitt Romney wins primaries. Mitt Romney won too. People looked at him and were like, okay, look, he won't win caucuses. He'll win the primaries the way it's set up and who votes. But he'll win primaries. And not only will he win if we were under the 2012 structure, they've changed things around. They've shortened it to eliminate some of the debates that allow, this up and down kind of thing with all the different candidates. Fewer debates means fewer opportunities for breakout performances by, people who really don't have a chance. In the view of the RNC, I'm not saying this to anger, viewers out there who would love a Rand Paul or Ted Cruz candidate, obviously, but they have fewer chances to make these breakout performances when there are only a few of these debates. And they have a harder time in the primaries. Let's think back. Who had a hard time in the big primaries? The Rick Santorum. Who was doing great in the caucuses, but he would beat everybody at those, but he couldn't win these primaries.
Yeah.
Who won the primaries? Romney. And I think that you'll see the same dynamic with Jeb Bush if he runs. We don't know if he's going to run, but I think that's what's swirling in the heads of the mainstream GOP right now.
Yeah, well, we're going to have Rick Santorum on in the next hour in this very time slot, so everybody should stay tuned. All right, Susan, great to talk to you as always, and good job on the McLaughlin Group, and we'll watch for you there again, and we'll have you back soon.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thanks. And of course, we'll read her great columns at the Washington Examiner here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, folks. I don't know. She's right. Romney won the primary. She's absolutely right. But when Jeb Bush goes around making excuses for breaking the law, if you're doing it to help your family, I just don't see primary voters coming out and voting for Jeb Bush after that. I just don't see it. So anyway, all right, folks, what can I tell you? I can tell you this much I know for sure. We're coming back with Gimme 5 on the Steve Malzberg Show.